I just saved a man's life who was having a heart attack on the highway. 3 days later, I myself was lying unconscious in the hospital with a heart attack. And when I woke up, my wife had drained all $100,000 from the account, along with a message. You deserve this after everything you've done to me. I only replied with a smiling emoji. And the next day, she found out what happens when a man loses not just money, but also his patience. But before we continue, comment below what you think this story will lead to. And does this wife deserve the ending she gets? Hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss other real-life drama stories. Now, let's get started. I actually saved a person's life. I am a long-haul driver, behind the wheel for 20 years. I know the roads better than my own apartment. On the highway somewhere before Moscow, I see a car on the side of the road. The hazard lights are flashing. I approach. A guy behind the wheel is white as a sheet. He is holding his chest with his hands, barely breathing. I immediately call an ambulance myself into his car. I support his head, count his pulse, as I was taught. I waited for the medics, explained everything. They later said, if it weren't for you, we wouldn't have made it. Instant heart attack. I didn't even think then that in 3 days I would be in the same condition myself. I returned to the base, started loading back, and in my chest, as if someone was hitting from the inside with a fist. I thought I overheated. I drank water, it doesn't help. Then it started to darken in my eyes. I called an ambulance myself, gave the documents myself. I woke up in the ward. For drips, noise, smell of alcohol. It's good that you called yourself, said the nurse. You have acute coronary syndrome. Heart attack. Operated urgently. You disconnected twice. I was lying, not moving. It's painful to breathe, hard to talk. Only in my mind is one thing, my wife. Emma. Wife for 15 years. No children, but we lived as we could. I am on trips, she is at home. Then manicure, then fitness, then with the girls to Turkey. She was considered in charge of the household. I asked for the phone. On the screen, one message from her. I withdrew all the money from the account. I deserved it after everything I did for you. Under it is a screenshot of our joint account. My safety net set aside for treatment for a car for old age. I don't know what I should have felt. Anger, horror. I felt emptiness. As if everything inside turned off. I didn't even write to her, I just sent a smiley. Thumbs up. That's all the reaction. And then I called my brother. Ryan, I need to spend the night at your place for a couple of days. Just don't tell Emma. And didn't you write to her that you're alive? She knows. Only she doesn't know that I'm not going to come back. And it was the first time in many years that I felt, I'm breathing again. I remember how Emma and I met. She was standing on the side of the road, confused like that, in heels. I stopped, helped, took her to the tire shop myself. She thought I was a hero. And now she zeroed the hero to zero in the truest sense. But if she thought it was all over, then she was very wrong. My brother met me without unnecessary questions. You look like a Kamaz ran over you on the highway, he grumbled, pouring tea. But it wasn't a Kamaz, Ryan. It was Emma. I told him briefly, without tears. He listened silently, only his jaw clenched. And what now? First I'll lie down, then everything according to the law. She thinks, I'm dead or what? I'll start begging. But I'm not going to be silent. That night I didn't close my eyes. The walls were pressing. Moments were spinning in my head. How she turned away when I came from a trip. How she started putting passwords on her phone. How she refused to go to the bank to re-register the mortgage. Back then I registered the apartment in my name. Emma said, I'll look later. And I didn't insist. It's good that I didn't insist. I felt a twinge in my chest again. I squeezed my eyes shut. Just not again. In the morning, our neighbor Chris called me. Jack, where are you? Is everything okay? Slowly. Why are you asking? Yes, some clumsy man has been coming often. Seems like he's spending the night. I thought, well, maybe you know. I know. Now for sure. I collected documents from the hospital and extract the date of admission, information about being in an unconscious state. Then my brother and I went to the main office of our bank, not to the district branch where everyone knows each other. I went in a warm jacket and with a folder. I need to talk to the head of security about suspected theft of funds from my account while I was medically incapacitated, I said calmly. The female manager was surprised, but took me away. I showed the extract and a screenshot with a zero account. The money was withdrawn by my wife without my consent at the moment when I was in intensive care. Is the account joint? She clarified. Yes, but the funds came there from my sole proprietorship to which she has no access. This is money for treatment and business. She nodded. We can launch an internal investigation. Legally it will be difficult, but if you provide copies of medical documents, we will forward the case to the security service. I will forward them, and I am also consulting with a lawyer. After the bank, I ate properly for the first time. It was cold outside. November was already crunching under my feet. I watched as people with children, with packages, hugging, laughing, passed by, and there was emptiness in my chest. In the evening, I called a familiar lawyer, Daniel. He was handling my brother's divorce case, speaking clearly on the case. If she withdrew money from a joint account, it's not a crime legally. But if we prove that you were incapacitated, and the money was personal, you can demand compensation through the court. The house is in my name, that's for sure. This is already a plus, but don't talk to her yet. Not a word. Everything through documents. Accepted. And then a message came from Emma. Where are you? Why don't you call? I was told you were discharged. We should talk. I looked at the screen. My fingers were itching to answer, to say everything I think. But I just blocked her number. Let her file a lawsuit. I'll wait. On the third day, there was a knock on Ryan's door. Not Emma, but his niece Olivia. Law school. 4th year. In glasses with a laptop and a pile of papers. My uncle told me from the doorstep, if you want, I can help you gather the basis for a lawsuit. We just have a module on family matters. I didn't object. I already understood. There's no way without the youth in this story. We started with the simplest thing. I gave her access to my accounting for my sole proprietorship. Everything is white, clean, taxes are paid. The account I had was not one. There was also an old one. In the cooperative where I once opened a savings account under the van. The passwords were saved. What is this? She poked at a strange report on the movement of funds. From here, since last year, sums of dollars are regularly debited almost every month to the same account. I was surprised. I haven't touched this account myself for 2 years. Give me the TIN of the recipient. She checked in the name of Emma Caroline. Is this your wife? Mine, and silence. She hid this account from you and made transfers as if between her own accounts. Everything is according to the law. Only the amount is below the threshold so that the bank doesn't ask questions. I was silent. And what is this? Olivia increased the field of recipients. There was a trustee, Victor Hayes. I tensed up. Hayes is not Chris, the neighbor from the 3rd floor, who wrote to me. This is another one. Victor Paul Hayes. Lives 1 floor above. Quiet in glasses. Emma used to often accompany her to the entrance. I thought just an intelligent neighbor. But it turns out not so simple at all. He is not a husband, not a relative, but has access to her account, Olivia said. This means she trusts him more than anyone else. I was silent, looking at the screen. Thoughts converged in my head. My trips, her trips with friends, her massages in the Moscow region. All this was not a vacation. It was preparation, financial evacuation. Olivia quietly said, I'm sorry, but she was draining you as an asset, preparing the ground to then leave with money, with the house, and you would be left with nothing, or so that I myself would die. Not excluded. I went out to smoke, although after a heart attack I couldn't restrain myself. It's freezing outside. The asphalt is crunching. I stood at the entrance like doused with water.
I'm 45.
I'm not the softest person. But this was not betrayal, this was betrayal with a calculator in hand. When I returned, Olivia had already collected the materials. Here is a table. All transfers, dates, amounts will be attached to the case. Thank you. I don't even know. You're welcome. But now I know for sure who to write my thesis about. That same evening I called Daniel. There is a hidden account. My money. Transfers during my trips. There is a trustee. A neighbor. Everything is documented. We will use all this. But Jack, I warn you, she will try to get ahead. Let her. And you be calm, cold, not a word more. Everything through me. I nodded. And inside there was no pain, no resentment, only emptiness and intentions. Clear, like the highway in the far light. Everything is visible and nowhere to turn. 2 days later, Ryan returned from the market with a newspaper under his arm. You tell me, Jack, that he threw the newspaper at me. Look at the 8th page. I opened it. There is an ad for the sale of a house. Ours, or rather mine. Cadastral number, address urgently.
No encumbrances.
Her phone number. I silently got up, went to the room, took the documents. Copy of the refinancing agreement. The owner of the object is indicated as me. Only me. I called Daniel. She put the house up for sale. Wow, without your consent she has no right. And if she finds a fool, signs on my behalf, we urgently file a lawsuit. Injunctive relief. Prohibition of registration actions. Tomorrow in the morning. I didn't sleep until morning. Not because I was afraid, but because I knew now it would start. Emma is not one of those who gives up. She will tear her claws. I was not mistaken. On the next day, when Daniel and I filed a lawsuit, I received an SMS. We should talk without lawyers. Just you and me. Don't you care? I didn't answer, but saved it. This is also evidence. Daniel received confirmation. The court imposed a ban on the sale of real estate until the end of the proceedings. Now, if she tries to pull something, she faces a criminal article. And if she frames me, it's too late. Everything is recorded. In the evening, when I returned to my brother, he was standing by the window. Look, in the yard is Emma with flowers, in a fur coat, and with that same Victor, who is just a friend. They were standing and arguing. She's waiting, said Ryan. She thinks you'll come out. I sat on the couch. Let her stand. 20 minutes later, a knock on the door. Jack, I know you're here. We should talk. I didn't go. The call was repeated, then subsided. An hour later, a new SMS came. You're not answering. Okay, no. You broke everything yourself. I was in despair. I thought you were dead. You left without explaining anything. Closer tonight, Daniel called. We have a counterclaim. She hired a lawyer, a big name. So what? She claims that you left her without explanation, that you are unstable, and that she had the right to take the money. I smirked. Let's go. Tomorrow we have our first meeting in court. Get ready. I'm always ready. The court was district, an old building. She came in a white coat with lips, as for a holiday. A lawyer. A strict woman, in glasses, with a briefcase and a contemptuous look. Daniel clearly on the case. I am with all the documents. An extract from the hospital, a report on the cards, a schedule of transfers, data on the account. The judge, a woman of about 60. Attentive. Emma Caroline, do you confirm that you withdrew money from a joint account during the period when the plaintiff was in the hospital? I was in a stressful state. I thought he was dead, and then he disappeared. Why didn't you then contact the police with a missing person report? Silence. As a result, the court imposed temporary restrictions on all assets. Until the circumstances are clarified, said the judge. Suspend all financial transactions. Property under arrest. It was only the first stage, but we leveled the game. At the exit, she tried to approach me. Jack, I passed by without even looking. If you have listened to this moment, thank you. If you like this story, support us with a like, comment, and subscription. This really helps our project grow. And now let's go back to those events. A week later, Daniel called early in the morning. There's news. Your Emily filed a petition for the division of property by mutual agreement. What is she trying to negotiate? They say, give half and we'll part. No half. She wanted to leave me with nothing. Well, then listen further. Do you remember what the neighbor Chris said? That Victor is often at her place? Of course, it's time to confirm this. I took out an old video recorder from the car, the one that once filmed the yard of the house. I checked the memory card. There was a recording there. Victor comes out of my entrance in one shirt in the morning. I dropped the file to Daniel. Excellent, this is direct evidence. Plus I requested an extract from mobile phones. Emma and Victor corresponded almost every day. He was listed as Vince the electrician. A real electrician, damn it. The next day the judge summoned both parties to the office. Closed meeting. Submit evidence, she said dryly. Daniel inserted the flash drive. The video played on the screen of her monitor without sound, but with a picture. It is clearly visible. Emma is kissing Victor near the house. The judge took off her glasses. Did you have an intimate relationship with this citizen, Emma Caroline? It is irrelevant. You are wrong. It is, if your actions indicate a deliberate withdrawal of joint funds and attempt to deceive. Her lawyer is like a sour lemon. I was silent, looking straight ahead. And then Emma spoke. I didn't think it would all go that way. You thought everything through. The judge interrupted her. And now the court is moving to take measures. Arrest of the account where her transfers are hanging. Arrest of the car that she was so proud of. And temporary transfer of the house to Jack due to the fact that he is recovering from a heart attack. Daniel's lawyer did not hide his pleasure. This is just the beginning. Now a claim for the return of funds and compensation for moral damage. In the corridor, Emma approached. You knew me. I would never have harmed you. You have already done it, I said calmly, and the rest will be done by the court. A couple of days later she began to crumble. I began to receive messages. I was wrong. It's all Victor. I'll return everything. Just don't leave me. It's too late. Olivia is my brother's niece. Meanwhile, I dug up another account. There were transfers from my sole proprietorship on it. As it turned out, Emma forged payment orders to optimize taxes. In fact, she withdrew money in cash. I was not even surprised. It was not just betrayal, it was a scheme. And that's when Daniel said, "We are making the last blow, a claim for financial exploitation in a state of medical incapacity. This gives the right not just to divide the property, but to demand a larger share." At the court hearing she looked like a shadow, without makeup, with extinguished eyes. Victor was not there. His lawyer reported that he had left on a long business trip. He left and did not report where. Of course, when the judge read out the decision, the hall froze. In connection with the proven fact of deliberate withdrawal of funds, with concealment of income, violation of marital obligations, and an attempt to deceive at the time of her husband's illness, the house is transferred to Jack completely. The car is subject to sale with the division of the amount in the ratio of 80-20 in favor of Jack. Funds on the hidden account are included in the compensation part, the expenses for the lawyer of the defendant. And I just sat straight, silently. Inside it was not joyful, but calm. A month after the trial I returned to my house. Alone, without suitcases, without screams, without keys, throwing them at the wall. Just open the door. In the hallway it's empty. Emma took out almost everything. Left only what she could not take away. Walls, floor. I walked through the rooms. In the kitchen there is a scratch on the countertop from a frying pan, which she once threw in a quarrel. In the bedroom there are no curtains or covers. But on the bedside table lay our wedding album, broken with a torn cover. She apparently changed her mind about taking it or could not look. I did not touch it, just closed it and put it in a drawer. It was not about us anymore. It was about who I became. I sold the house later. Not because I could not live, but because I did not want to live in the museum of betrayal. I bought a modest 2-room apartment in the area where my brother lived, and transferred part of the money to my niece Olivia for help, for support, for the fact that she is not just a lawyer but a person. She, by the way, defended her thesis on my case with honors. To work as a long-haul driver I could no longer. The doctor said directly, "One more such trip, and the heart will not withstand." I found a place as a dispatcher in a transport company. The salary is lower, but at home. Every morning I get up without an alarm clock, drink tea, look out the window. And for the first time in many years I am not in a hurry. Sometimes on the street I see similar faces, shadows. It seems here she is. And then I realize, no, the real one disappeared. The last time I saw Emma in court. Since then, no calls, no letters. Only through an acquaintance I heard that she had left for They say Victor soon filed for bankruptcy. Well, they found each other and I found myself. When people find out my story, they ask, "Did you want to take revenge?" I wanted to, I answer. And then I changed my mind because the best revenge is to live peacefully in your truth. Without them, without pain. She got hers, her interest, I deserved mine. And I got freedom. Not the one that is in words, but the real one. When you go to sleep not in anxiety, but with ease. When it's raining outside, and you're at home. When you can say no and not explain why. Recently I was sorting out boxes. Found an old photo. Me, Emma, my brother and my niece. 10 years ago. We were still laughing at the barbecue then. Everyone's smiles are like in a movie. And only now I understand. Not everything that glitters is gold. Sometimes it's just a wrapper from the past. I don't hold a grudge. I keep my hand on the pulse of my life. She thought she stole everything from me. But I just reassembled myself piece by piece and became stronger, calmer, freer.